Welcome, Michael. Thanks for being here. Michael, so you've got an interesting background too. You were a software executive, then you became an ISO.
Right.
But you missed the software business so much you went back into it.
Little bit.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so MiCamp is, we've been a ISO with First Data since 2007. And then a couple of years ago, we had to make a conscious decision. We had to look at the business. We had to understand where the growth was going to come from, where the revenue was going to come from, where the opportunity was. And we were seeing what I'm sure everybody in the room was seeing. We were seeing competitiveness, we were seeing margins compress. And interestingly enough to us, it very much mirrored the technology distribution challenges that they had, the scan sources, the Avnets, the Tech Datas of the world back in the mid-2000s. And they had to figure out how to evolve themselves because the more hardware that got put into a channel, the more compressed their margins became. Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, they chose to pivot towards software and services. So when we saw that resonated with us. That was certainly my background and many others, and we looked at that as an opportunity. And at the same time, we had already begun to build very simple solutions, if you will, like an EMV solution, basic integrations to point of sales. We were very focused on industry, technology verticals, hospitality, retail, healthcare, et cetera. So for us, it was a natural evolution, which would be, quite frankly, my advice to any ISO out there today listening would be, that evolution is very doable, right?
Excellent. So Itai, 12 months ago, would you have seen yourself on stage with First Data as a collaborative partner?
So as I mentioned, we've had a long-standing relationship with First Data since 2009, and that's evolved obviously to a great place. But a year ago, I don't think I could have seen this coming. I think in the last year, we definitely, I think Shopkeep viewed Clover as a competitor. And in the last 12 months, we've seen Clover and First Data's dedication to creating an open platform, attracting the best-in-class point-of-sale systems. And we very much believe in the platform that you're building, and super excited to be a part of it.
Excellent. How about yourself, Mike?
Truthfully, I have a little different lens, right, coming from the software world, not the payments world. So I would say that, my answer would be probably more so yes. I think anytime you enter into strategic alliances or global alliances or some type of a partnership, you have to understand what you do really well, what your value is, and then what is your partner's value. And then the important part is how you bring it together and how you go out and do it jointly. And for us, right, so we've evolved from the ISO to the ISV world. We've seen the same evolution from First Data in this space as they've begun to evolve and looking at driving value and creating partner ecosystems and things such as that.
Well, I think my perspective, having come into First Data at the beginning of the year, our conversations were, I would say, mid-stride, mm-hmm. and then we began to formalize our partnership and the commercial arrangement. And I know there was some perspective, if you will, of fox in the hen house, enabling a competitor. But I think we both can, or all of us can acknowledge that collectively us working together is far better for the market and far better for our own business and revenue opportunities. When you listened to John and myself speak earlier, what are things that resonated to you? What are things that you thought were real that you can take to the bank? Itai.
So I think coming from the ISO world, I always felt like I was on the other side of the glass watching POS companies kind of build rocket ships and watching them launch off into space and grow incredibly fast. And I think that's because the point of sale world is, I like to say merchants view point of sale as their second phone call. Once you have a lease, you're calling a point of sale company and asking for help to grow your business. So today that means we can offer software, hardware, payments, gifts. Soon it's going to be loyalty and payroll and lending, HR. There's no end to it. The bundling of these services and products is inevitable. You see this, everywhere in payments, technology. As services and products become commoditized, you have to bundle them to deliver more and more value to the merchants. And I definitely see that being the future of this space.
Michael.
For us, I think, the primary thing that we're focused on right now that I think really aligns extremely well are two things. It's first of all, it's integration services. For us, the industries we serve, an example being hospitality, hotels, casinos, accommodation, food and beverage. The legacy issues that they've had over the years has been lack of integration. So they have, legacy and disparate systems, all throughout their enterprise. And more people are coming in and dropping third-party solutions that are contributing to that problem, not trying to solve that problem. So that's kind of one thing we're very cognizant of, is that we want our platform and our integration services to help solve those issues, not make them worse, right? And I think the second thing, real quickly, that I think aligns extremely well is we're very much of the belief about software as a service, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service. Right. I get that from my heritage, like you do, and I think that for us is what's really made us, even more comfortable with this global partnership with First Data.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. I just want to say on First Data's part, ShopKeep has a very, a richer QSR retail-oriented solution. MiCamp brings out the ability to get into that heterogeneous world, extend far greater than First Data could on its own. And, as I said earlier, we really acknowledge that we're stronger, unified, and aligned together, working as a part of the whole. And I really thank you for your time. We're really privileged to have the partnership. So with that, I want to thank everyone. And we want to take what we're doing with these partners out to the marketplace and replicate that. Really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you. Well done, Michael. Well done, guys.